I was saying, Joy Taylor, every dog has its day. And since I'm a big dog, I've got 2 days.
Okay.
So now.
You just called yourself a dog?
Yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm a big dog, a big one.
Kevin Durant is 6'11", who can pull up from 40.
Okay.
This brother is on that level. I'm talking about offensively.
Do you think you're better than Jarrell Revis is right now?
I'm better than you.
Hey, we're live in the phone lines, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Lowdown Podcast. I'm getting close to 60 episodes. I know it's been quite of a long run, but at the same time, it's been extremely entertaining, and that's what I promised you guys at the beginning when I started this podcast. And I have a special guest that's making his return. I had him back in October talking about the NFL, and he's an NFL writer for Sports Illustrated. His name is Gary Gramling. He is extremely talented. I enjoy the pieces that he writes. I always look online to make sure that he wrote another article, and I'll check it out. I'm like, there he is. There's the man, Gary. And I just wanted to say, welcome back, Gary. It's good to have you.
Good to be here, Mark. Way too kind. But you know what? Maybe that's why I come back.
Yeah, I always make sure I make a good first impression. You know, it's always about a good first impression, right? But the reason why I have Gary on the show today is because guess what, everybody? I know time is really flying because the NFL Combine officially starts this Thursday, and it's starting off with the quarterbacks. So the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends have the workout schedule. So look, if you look at the Combine workout schedule, it starts Thursday, and it's like between Thursday through Monday of next week of all positions. And when it comes to quarterbacks, you hear names like Joe Burrow or Kelly Bryant or guys like that, or Jalen Hurts. I mean, there's so many good quarterbacks in this year's draft class and this year's combine. So it's just going to be very I just can't wait to see it. I'm just curious to see how everybody performs. I mean, at the end of the day, film speaks for everything, but also you want to perform well in the combine. So that's the reason why I got Gary on the show. He's an NFL expert. So, Gary, what are your thoughts previewing this combine as a whole? I know we're just a couple days away from the official workouts.
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost like the big story every year is sort of what goes on away from the workouts. And I think it's going to be no different this year. I mean, Joe Burrow, this is the big question. And he did his media availability today. And the question is, will he go to the Bengals? Are we going to see an Eli Manning avoiding the Chargers type of drama on draft day? I don't know if we'll go to that extent. Burrow said today, whoever drafts him, he's going to play. He's going to play there. He's not going to. He's not going to play in shenanigans. He was very emphatic about that. But I don't know. I really – the Bengals have some convincing to do. And really, if you're the Bengals and a guy tells you, like, I'm not thrilled about your franchise, I don't know. Do you take him anyway? That seems like not a great idea at that point. So if you read between the lines on what Burrow has been saying, it matches up with some of the whispers we've been hearing at Sports Illustrated, which is at the very least, the Bengals have some work to do to convince him that they are the right franchise for him. And that's sort of he's not even going to work out this week, and he'll still be the talk of the town the entire week.
Oh, I mean, if I were Joe Burrow, I'd be like, I don't have to work out. I mean, this guy, he put everybody on a clinic this past season. Like, one of the most prolific offenses, one of the most prolific stats that I've seen in my lifetime when it comes to QBs in college football. And just to see him win the Heisman and then go off with obviously a championship trophy. I mean, he doesn't really need. I mean, the film speaks for itself. He doesn't really need to work out. He's still whether he works out or not, he's still going to be a first round within the top 3 picks.
It does, and I mean, what a year he had. I really coming into last year, I was like, Burrow might have a nice season. We might be talking like day 2 pick for him, second or third round pick, and oh my goodness, I mean, he was unstoppable. That was it really was as impressive a season as I've seen from a quarterback at the college level. Maybe Cam Newton at Auburn. You're kind of doing apples and oranges there because Burrow had a better supporting cast than Cam did. But I mean, Burrow was unbelievable last year. The one flaw, if you were going to nitpick, I worry a little bit about him powering that ball outside the numbers. I think he does sort of calibrate the bodies well, and I think he won't get into trouble out there. But maybe that limits just ever so slightly what you can do offensively with your passing designs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing who he gets picked up by. I mean, like you said, there's been rumors, and you're saying it's a little bit too early for all that to see who he's going to get picked by. They always can preview a mock draft every single year to see who goes where. And most of the time they could be right, and sometimes most of the time they're wrong. I mean, I've seen so many different takes here and there about who's going where, and that brings me to the question: what round do you think Jalen Hurts will be picked up by? Because there was rumors saying that he should get picked up as a receiver in the NFL, and he was upset about that. He said he's a quarterback, and that's specifically who he is. And so where do you think he'll get placed in the NFL draft? If say he has a great combine and everything like that.
Yeah, and I mean he's a quarterback right now. Obviously he's athletic enough that if he gets the NFL and it just doesn't work out as a quarterback, then he has options. But Jalen's a quarterback right now. I think he could go. If I was going to put the over/under, I would say early third round. I think he could go second round. I think he could go I could see someone falling in love with him, going top 40. What you're seeing from a lot of NFL offenses these days is everyone's getting better at sort of it's not just utilizing the mobile quarterback. It's sort of blending sort of the multidimensional run game with the pass game. And that really plays into Hurts' strengths as an athlete. He's coming along as a passer. I mean, look, if this was 2 years ago, you would have looked at him and said, this guy's not a good passer for the NFL. He was, he didn't sort of take off like Baker or Kyler did at Oklahoma, but he was definitely improved last year. And you definitely look at it and say hey, we think he's going to keep improving at the next level. And if he does, you got yourself a potential star there.
Exactly. And then I can see Jalen Hurts. I mean, he has the potential to have a better career so far than Baker Mayfield has done. I mean, that might sound pretty ridiculous to some people, but Baker Mayfield, the way he's been playing lately, doesn't really show that he can. He's, in my opinion, he hasn't really played to his full potential. He's made a lot of mistakes this year.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Yeah, and plus, being coached under Freddie Kitchens, knowing that we all know that he got fired not too long ago, and then
yep.
I mean, just being coached under a guy like that, I mean, it's just going to be really difficult to actually make good decisions. I mean, it could be the play call. We don't know. I mean, we just saw the way he played on TV and everything. It just didn't look like himself at all. So
absolutely rough year too for Baker. He's got some stuff to prove, but he should be a star. They should do right by him in Cleveland, and I think the new coach there, Kevin Stefanski, gets him back on track here.
Exactly. So we'll see how that goes, and then that gives Jalen Hurts hope. I mean, I'm not saying that he's worried about Baker Mayfield's performance or anything. I'm just saying that he has potential to be a great quarterback in the league. I mean, it's just a wait and see moment for him. And then that brings me back to Joe Burrow, because that's probably where you remember when he tweeted this out yesterday. So here he goes. I'm about to pull it up right now. So he tweeted out, this is from, really 17 hours ago. He said, "Considering retirement after I was informed the football will be slipping out of my tiny hands. Please keep me in your thoughts." And then Patrick Mahomes had something funny to say. He quoted the tweet and said, "My small hands are doing all right so far. I believe in you," with laughing emojis.
It is. If I remember correctly, Mahomes had 9.25-inch hand width, and Burrow has 9-inch. And I don't know. Someone threw out the stat I don't have it in front of me. But it's been a while since a guy with 9-inch hands was taken high in the draft as a quarterback. And we had a similar conversation with Jared Goff a couple of years ago. It really is. If you're looking at hand size for quarterbacks and stuff like that, it's a tiebreaker. I mean, that's if you love two guys equally, maybe that's your tiebreaker. That's the only relevance of it. And you're not going to limit Joe Burrow to just handing the ball off and throwing shovel passes and stuff like that.
Yeah, not at all. And then, I mean, you just look at this combine, because we all know when you look at the NFL combine, there's multiple workouts. There's the 40-yard dash that everybody knows about. There's the bench press, vertical jump, broad jump, three-cone drill. I think I'm missing one. It's a shuttle run. That's right, the shuttle run. And, oh, man, there's been so many funny moments watching the combine the past few years. I've been watching it religiously since I was a kid. For some reason, I was always fond of watching the NFL combine. Especially the 40-yard dash and the bench rep test. For some reason, I was always fond of watching that. And there was this drill. I think it's called the receiver gauntlet drill, where you notice the quarterback, they'll have multiple quarterbacks standing out on the field, across the field,
mm-hmm.
and they'll have one receiver, or they'll have either a receiver or running back, one participant at a time that goes through the gauntlet. And basically what happens is they turn around, they blow the whistle, turns around, catches one pass, turns around and catches another one, and then they just run across the field and they look left and right, catching passes from both ends. And then there was a receiver. Who was it? Oh, no. Let me take it back. Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, here we go. So this is from the 2016 Combine. Ezekiel Elliott went for a pass, and I guess he wasn't paying attention. I guess he turned his head too late, and the ball went through his hands, and it hit him right in the head. It hit him in the head.
It's wild, some of the stuff they put these guys through. To me, like all these tests, it's like pass fail. And to fail, you have to like really struggle to, and what I mean by that is like your tape is what your grade is going to be based on, like 85, 90%. And then there's stuff like interviews and medicals that can affect it. But like the workouts, if you fail, if you just completely fall flat on your face, that's going to change some people's minds, because that's where you saw last year the Florida edge rusher who had really strong tape, Ja'Kai Polite.
Yep.
I mean, he bombed. There's nothing else to say about it. He showed up out of shape. He bombed. He was drafted by the Jets in the third round still because his tape was good enough. And then he had, he was showing up late to everything. He got let go, and then he's I don't even know if anyone scooped him up for a practice squad spot, but I mean, that's an example of it. I mean, it's pass fail, and it's pretty easy to pass it these days with the way, I mean, everyone knows what they're preparing for.
Exactly. And plus, I mean, plus you have time. I mean, the season ends, like most of you guys, for most of the teams, like if you're not going to the national championship, your season ends in December.
Yep.
And, your season, so that gives you 2.5, almost 3 months to prep and get ready. And most guys that go to the league, some of them don't even play they don't even participate in the bowl game because they want to, sit this one out and just, hold themselves accountable to ready for the NFL Combine and start training for it without injury. So just to see you have this much time to prep for it, and then when you come in you show up out of shape, and that's not really good at all. That's absurd, honestly, in my opinion.
It is. I mean, look, these agencies pay these training places, whether it's Exos or some of these other places, to just to basically get these guys in shape and get them. It's not only staying in shape, but they. I remember I went to one of these back in the day. It was probably like 10 years ago now, and it's like track and field practice. If anyone ever ran track in high school or college or anything, it's working on starts and stances and stuff like that, and. But it really is. I mean, everyone knows what the test is. It's really inexcusable to show up and just have a bad combine. So Orlando Brown was a guy a couple years ago who, the Oklahoma offensive lineman who ended up with Baltimore and is a good player in the NFL. I think it was a combination of a bad day, and he's also just not a guy. He has a very unique build that doesn't lend itself to a lot of these combine tests, but it really is for 99% of these guys going to the combine. It's like, what the test is. Just get ready for the test.
Exactly. And then, especially for the bench rep test, because I remember when Odell Beckham Jr., so this is 6 years ago, whenever he was in the combine, he only hits, if I remember correctly, it was 7 reps of 225. But it's not like, if you're a wide receiver, you don't necessarily have to be super strong or anything. So I don't think that really, it doesn't really matter to him now. Knowing that he's like a top-tier receiver, these past several seasons. But just seeing that, I was thinking, I thought you would assume that, players, especially that when they are in consideration of going to the NFL, you would think they would, have at least 10 reps or more. But at the end of the day, it's a football game. It's not a lifting contest. It's not a track meet. It's a football game. So they're just looking at the intangibles to see that, hey, he might be explosive in this, playing this position, or he might be able to, make great decisions catching in traffic, or say if it's an offensive lineman. Well, now for O-linemen, they have to be strong. That's pretty obvious. So that bench press test, I think that was vital for O-linemen, running backs, and linebackers. And O-linemen, D-linemen, linebackers, and running backs and tight ends. Those guys. I feel like those positions are where the bench rep test is a little bit more important than other positions. Because if you're like a DB, a QB, or a receiver, it's probably not as important.
Yeah, and they're Mark. They're actually talking about getting rid of the bench press and replacing it with something that is a little more like football centric as far as the movement goes. So the criticism of the bench press is like it's strength endurance, but obviously what does the average play last in the NFL, like 6 or 7 seconds? So there's some endurance there, but not that much. And the bench press probably isn't the best measure of. They're talking about doing maybe sort of a blocking sled type of thing where they do the radar gun on the quarterbacks as a very loose measure of arm strength, and they're talking about doing maybe like a blocking sled where it measures I wish I knew the science better. Basically measures the power you're putting into hitting the sled and doing it that way.
Yeah, that might be a better idea because there's drills that most college, like most D1 programs, especially, most D1 programs today have indoor facilities, especially the top-tier ones, like all the Power 5 programs. So, for example, I know at Oklahoma State they do this drill during winter workouts before they start spring football where they have stations. And there's this one station where you start off on the ground. They blow the whistle, because I watched it before. I watched it on their YouTube channel.